Hello teacups, what's brewing? Chantal has had quite the night. Let's discuss, shall we? So for anyone who's wondering what the hell went on, let's do a quick recap. At some point, I'm not very good with my time zones right now, but yesterday / maybe technically the night before, because I was up pretty late last night, somebody posted a video online saying, get me to 1,000 subs and I will spill all the tea on Foodie Beauty, essentially. This guy posted a video to show that he is a friend of Alaa, showed a picture of them a few years ago, like dancing and hanging out and stuff, to show that he was legit in his connection to them, and got to 1,000 subs really quickly, as you might imagine. Now, my instinct with this was actually that maybe Alaa had set it up. They've been struggling for views, they've been trying a few different ways to try and increase views, and I thought maybe, and maybe this was a little bit cynical of me, but can you blame me? Maybe they had just done that to generate interest in the next live that Foodie would open, which it definitely did, but I basically wasn't sure how legit it was. I didn't know if it was just another case of like Roman al Roman, when, oh, I've got a vague connection, I'm just going to try and cash in on it, which it might have been, we don't know. My prediction, because we were following this on Twitter, my prediction was that Foodie would rage about it, which she definitely did, and we'll discuss, and that if Alaa was there raging with her, maybe he hadn't set it up, and if Alaa wasn't there, maybe he had, you know, because there's various motivations for why Alaa might do it to Foodie rather than have it done to him, if that makes sense, because it doesn't seem like, just going on a few different things, it doesn't seem like whatever they had discussed before Foodie arrived is their current situation in terms of what Foodie would do for him, what he would do for Foodie. And just, you know, there's things we can speculate there. But when somebody comes online, it's always a little bit sus. I was a little bit sus about the guy, and I still don't know entirely how to feel about him, because Foodie claims his motivations are he just wants clout online, which is a thing. People do that. You can see Roman al Roman did that. It seems odd, or maybe it's just her personality, that she attracts them so consistently, but people like that exist, right? Now, clearly, I don't know where he initially posted the video. It was some kind of short, but I don't know how people would have discovered it from nowhere. He obviously posted it somewhere visible. He did, you know, it was seen by people, so he knew where to go for the community. Now, Chantal has told them that she's got a channel, so I don't know if he just searched her and found the community himself, or if he was directed. And that was really the doubt for me over where this was just, I don't know, made up for views, whether this was deliberate for views, or whether he was coming off his own back into the community, in which case, my God, dude, you got no idea what you're getting into here. But for whatever reason, this guy put the video up, got to over 1,000 subscribers really quickly, and started spilling some tea. Said that they weren't married, that Alaa had a job, had quit his job after like 3 days. They were working in the same place, and he had gotten a job there, and after 3 days had quit because Foodie had said, oh, she's going to take him to Canada, and you know, like, his life was going to change basically, which, again, we don't know. If he's been searching the community, he might just be parroting whatever he's hearing from videos, from reactions, from speculation we've had, or he might be coming to us with some honest information. I don't know. We do know that Foodie had said that Alaa had started a new job, and that based on the timeline of when they're online, he doesn't seem to be doing it. So it's entirely possible that he started a job and then decided to quit. That did actually happen. Well, it didn't actually happen, but let's try that again. That's similar to the situation, is a better way to put that, to what happened with Nada, when Foodie was like, no, I have the money, just stay here with me all the time, rather than him needing to go and pay his own bills and get his own job. So there's historical evidence that that's what she prefers, but I would have personally thought she would have learned a lesson there. However, with her being in Kuwait, with her being so reliant on him and on him driving her around and her card's not working and all of that, maybe she does want him home. Maybe she does want him available more than anything. I don't know. There was a little bit of confusion over whether Salah was a taxi driver. I think he had said at some point that he works like a taxi driver for her, not that he actually did it as a profession. So I could believe he had the job in as much as we can believe anything from this guy. But then Foodie comes online. Okay, so this all went down. And then the guy was like, oh no, I need to go to work. I will go live tomorrow and spill the tea. Yeah. Could you imagine having someone like this? If it's real, just having this rando in your life that would do this is just awful. But these seem to be the people she attracts. So Foodie then gets mad. Shocking, I know. But she puts up a live. She puts up, she schedules a live. And it's a picture of this man's wife. And an Arabic title calling her a whore. The Arabic title was saying the guy's name. He's put the name out, so I'm not speaking out of turn. But Alaa Shabab. So the thumbnail, because the title was Alaa Shabab is a loser and something. I can't remember exactly. But the thumbnail was a picture of his wife, and then calling her a whore. And I'm sorry, who the hell do you think you are, Foods? Seriously, let's ignore for a second Foodie's own history with putting out explicit stuff online to call anybody else a whore, excuse you. But the wife was nothing to do with this. The wife wasn't in the video. The wife just happens to have been in the peripheral. Like they went camping together at one point. She was one of the women. And so she drags this wife, drags him as well, but considering the woman's nothing to do, she just happens to be connected to this dude, to put her name in the thumbnail, to discuss her by name, and to use certain descriptors of her. Here are some of the things that Foodie said this woman had done. And I don't mean probably, maybe. I mean, she outright said. She said that the guy was a cuckold and the wife was cheating on him. She said that they lived with she was very, very specific in saying black guys because to her that's worse, I guess. But they live in a small apartment with 4 other men and she does disgusting things with them and he's a cuckold and that's their whole situation. And you've got to remember here, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, these kinds of accusations hold a lot more weight here. They really do, which we are going to go into in a little bit. She called the woman a whore several times in Arabic. She called her a dog. Speaking of insults, she called him a dog, but I think she called her a dog. So you know how some insults are more severe than others? You call someone a bitch versus you call someone a C word. There is a different depth of insult in that. It's a really big thing to call somebody a dog here. In the Middle East in general, it's a big thing. And that's why she chose it. Bear in mind, she's speaking the odd Arabic word. She's doing it in Arabic to make it clearer because she wants to hurt them more. But it's not I used to teach an all-boys class in Saudi Arabia, yeah? Kids insult each other, you might have an argument. Someone calls another one a dog, you're going to have a physical fight and they are both going to end up in the principal's office. Because you don't do that. You don't call people dogs. You don't show them the bottom of your shoe. You don't insult their parents. It's a really big deal here. Yeah, and there's a different level of response to it. So when I said, none of the stuff she said was okay, and actually none of the stuff would have been okay. I know there's been a lot of questions about the legal standpoint, and we'll get into it. But any of the stuff she's saying would not be okay, even in a Western country where things are more open with this kind of discussion. So I don't know what the hell, I would say I don't know what the hell she was thinking. She clearly wasn't. She was angry. She was impulsive. But it's inexcusable the way she went in on this woman. You could argue, I still think her response would be completely unacceptable, but you can argue he came online and he said, nope, I'm going to tell you all about Foodie. I could understand the anger there, and I could understand her responding to him, because right there, he painted the target on his own back. Yeah, you get involved, you paint the target on, and that's just how things work. She was nothing to do with this. She was nothing to do with this. And also, because how you speak on people is very different in the Middle East, like the things you say versus the things you imply. For example, later, after her rage, he put up a short live as he was driving to work. It's now been deleted, and I'm not sure what's going on with this. But even though he was probably angry to hear it and insulted to hear it, because she, like, when I'm talking bottom of the barrel insults for someone in the Middle East, like, that's the stuff she was doing. He said, well, you know, I've got a big house, I've got enough money for me, you know, Salah is a good guy, she's leading down the path, I don't want to speak badly. Like, he definitely has, if he's legit, he, in terms of this wasn't prompted in any way, this isn't planned by I wouldn't say by Foodie, she's too angry to have planned this, but if it wasn't planned in some way by Salah and him for the reaction, then he is shady. He is shady AF. But if it's legit in that sense, then he has reason to be angry at her, because she came for everything, and it's not okay. Yeah, it's not okay here. So the way he responded when he's like, you know, I don't want to talk bad, but you don't directly insult like that here. That is how you do that. That's a much more Arabic response to say, you know, I have these, when Foodie talks about defending herself, this is an example of what I think is defending yourself. When you address the things that were said in the sense of, okay, here, I have these rings, I have my nice new car I'm driving, I live in a big house, I don't know what she's talking about. You know, don't want to talk badly of her, but she's wrong for these reasons. That is defending yourself, because it's not pulling apart the person that insulted you. It's saying this, and this is wrong. So it focused on those points instead of the person saying them, which is something Foodie's never gotten. When she says, well, she said it first, I'm just defending myself. No, you're doing exactly what you say people shouldn't do to you, and you're insulting. And that's the difference between defense and insults. And I'm not saying that she couldn't make an argument that whatever she does is justified, but don't make the argument while saying, well, I would never do that. It doesn't make sense. So she left that live up for a little while, not a long time, but a little while. As soon as she stopped going live, she changed the thumbnail and she changed the title. And I think they changed a couple of times, because I'm guessing she knew exactly what the impact could be with that. And there is proof she knew that it was completely unacceptable in more than a general way that we would find that unacceptable in the West even. But there's proof that she knew it could cause trouble, and that's in her next live, exposing myself, because having done this, she needed a distractor really, really quick. Yeah. As I say, his short, Good Morning for 5 minutes, where he said that she was leading him astray, that he doesn't need the money, he's not monetized at this point. He wanted, if anything, maybe we should talk about this first. Okay, let's go into her exposing herself because it attaches, and then we'll talk about this. So she puts up a live saying, exposing myself, and she goes, people seem to have forgotten who I am, so I'm here to dispel rumors. And I'm like, honey, if people are forgetting who you are, it's for entirely different reasons. It's not the own you think it is. And then the first rumor she chooses to address is did not contact Nada, because God forbid, no, let's, any topic, any other topic. She actually spends a good portion of this live discussing Breezy, because desperately trying to distract from the point at hand, which is that she was out of line. So to go point by point, as some of the rumors she addressed, did not contact Nada. I didn't even realize that was a rumor, but I don't watch him. She didn't call black men disgusting. We are clearly reaching. She didn't call black men disgusting. What she did was say repeatedly, 4 black men live with her and she does disgusting things with them. And she really honed in on the fact when she was describing, like, the scandal there is the idea that there would be no separation in the house and they would be sleeping in quite close quarters with men there. Yeah, that's the scandal in all of that for someone living here. But no, it's there were 4 black men. That's worse, apparently. And so she had to field a few questions on that she just, that's what she said. She was like, don't be ridiculous. Then why the things about Breezy? And she's like, she started, I defended myself. And I'm like, well, no, defending yourself is focusing on what was said, not on the person saying it. Did Alaa give money and not pay him back? Pay him being Salah? And she says no. One of the things I believe Alaa had said, Alaa's the name of this guy who's claiming to have the tea, was that they had borrowed money or something and then he hadn't paid him back. I don't think I really care either way, but it could be true, it might not be true. She's saying no. There was a slightly hilarious moment where Aunt Phyllis, Auntie Funtimes, was in the chat and asked the question we all wanted to know, really, which was, why are you here, Chantal? To say what? Chantal didn't see it or chose to ignore it. But yeah, like, for this second live, what is the point of this? It's the nicest possible way you can say it, but what's the point of this? There was no answer. 5th rumour, is Salah a taxi driver? No. And as I say, I think the point was Alaa said he acts like a taxi driver for her, rather than him actually working as one. She says that guy is lying. Like I said, a shop job sounds pretty reasonable to me. I thought there was information before that he worked in like a mobile phone store or something. And Foodie was like, well, he had another job on top of his business. And she says that quickly later with something else. And I'm like, okay, so he probably had some kind of retail job. It's totally fine if you do. Tons of people work in retail and frankly are undervalued. But we talk about essential workers and things needing to keep going. Yes, we need all the medical workers, but also to keep things running, to keep things going, we needed grocery store workers, we needed delivery drivers, we needed all those people. There's nothing wrong with working in retail. It's a hard job. I've done it myself. But I think it's reasonable to say, okay, they quit, they got another job together, as this guy says, and then he quit soon after, which would seem to fit the small amount of information we have in the timeline we're currently in. Oh, she went off on one of her beezers. I'm guessing it wasn't really a beezer, but she said, Crisscross, whoever that is, has a personality disorder. 1 minute nice, 1 minute freaking out. Go take your meds and then rejoin so I can get more money. And I'm like, 1 minute nice, 1 minute freaking out. Who does that sound like? Although the proportions are a little bit off there. More like 10 seconds nice, nearly 2 minutes just raging. There was one stupid rumor. It was, rumor is you're about to get stoned to death. And fuck, that is dumb. All right, let's talk about the legalities of this though, okay? When it comes to defaming someone online and violating their privacy online, it's actually pretty serious business throughout the Middle East. In Saudi Arabia, you could be put in jail for a year. So to take the wife's picture, even if she hadn't named her, but to take the wife's picture, to name her, and then to put the word whore next to it in the thumbnail, and I'll put the thumbnail up here so you can see what she did. That is not okay. That wouldn't be okay in general as bad behavior, but I'm saying, like, legally, that's not okay. She's not going to get stoned for it, but legally that's not okay, and there are consequences. I'm not sure exactly what the consequences are in Kuwait. I know I did link on Twitter. By the way, I mention Twitter a lot. If any of you aren't following me on Twitter, if you go to like my channel page here, I have it linked in the top. You can click it. Just because I know I've been referencing it a little bit more recently. On Twitter, I did link to an article in an Omani newspaper detailing Sorry, I couldn't remember what the what the punishment was, so I just had to go through to the news article itself. But it's imprisonment or a fine. So you can be imprisoned for up to 3 years and have a fine that ranges up to 5,000 OMR. 5,000 OMR is about 17,500 Canadian, something along those lines. It's a big fine. Now, when we talk defamation, this was particularly for violating privacies of individuals through photos. So that is the closest law, I think, in this country for what she did in Kuwait. And as I say, sometimes they don't separate that, they just say defamation. Now, defamation can take many forms. Generally speaking, she would be treated a lot more seriously if she had defamed Islam, or if she had defamed the Emir, she would probably already be arrested. Like, if someone had reported her video and she had been criticizing the state or the religion, she wouldn't be with us right now. She'd be answering charges. Even as a Canadian, like, she would be in trouble right now. In terms of civil cases like this, where she's insulting and putting up pictures of a person particularly, I think it would depend on if that person reported her. I think she should. I think the wife should. The guy, the husband, he picked his battles. He completely, as I say, painted the target on his own back there. The woman was nothing to do with it. And if she chose to pursue this, she would have a case. Now, I was trying to look at what the punishment in Kuwait could be, and I couldn't find exactly, but I did a little search of some news articles because, as I say, insulting religion or insulting the state is considered a lot more seriously. So those are the cases that tend to get more reported. But I found a couple, they're just a little bit older. One saying someone was fined 5,000 Kuwaiti dollars. I'm not sure exactly how much that is right now, but 5,000 Kuwaiti dollars for misusing mobile phone by taking photos of a lady without her consent and sharing the photos on social media. So this is pretty, in terms of consent, it looks like the woman posed for the picture that was zoomed into for the thumbnail, because I'm guessing they took it when camping, but she clearly would not have consented for it to be used in that manner or shared online. So that was a 5,000 Kuwaiti dollar fine. And again, is it 3.5 times for the Canadian dollar, 4 times for the Canadian dollar? So you'd be talking somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 fine. Now, because she is Canadian, because she's not Kuwaiti, chances are she wouldn't get jail, I don't think. Not for this kind of case. But she's aware that it's unacceptable because somebody asked during her exposing myself live, why are you on here alone? Why didn't Salah come and defend you? Why did you have to do the dirty work? And she was like, it's because we have our reasons, okay? So she had to stop and think, even in her rage then. But the reason she came up with a couple of reasons, but she came up with, it would be riskier for him because he lives here if he was saying these, but he was in the chat supporting me. And I'm like, yeah, it would be risky for him because it's illegal. And it's also illegal for you. These laws apply to you even if you're not a citizen because you're within the country. Now, as I say, whether it should happen or whether it shouldn't, she would be treated differently because she's a white Canadian woman visiting the country than if she were Kuwaiti herself. She absolutely would be. It's not right, but it is true. So there was less risk for her, but the fact that she's discussing risk, she knows. She knows it's unacceptable. So she went into this knowingly and just didn't care. And that would and should factor into any decision if they chose to pursue it legally. I'm putting up another case right here as well. A Kuwaiti woman has filed a case against her ex-husband, brother-in-law, and their aunt for tarnishing her reputation and demand compensation. I don't know how this ended, but this was a case of the woman got divorced and the family were tearing her down. And like, even there, she had an ability to go to a lawyer and talk about it. I know people like to think there are no rights in the Middle East. It's not true. You can pursue avenues. It's hard, but laws exist, particularly when it comes to things like your picture, your image being shared, your reputation, the insult to your reputation. It's serious here. Like, in Saudi Arabia, if a man had tried to talk to me in a store, for example, and I had walked out of that store and he had followed me when I didn't want to be spoken to, I could have gotten him arrested. Laws do exist to protect individuals, whether they're male or female, and this is a part of the law where they will enforce it even for women. So she can sit there smugly and say, no, he's a public figure, he has a YouTube channel. Yeah, he does. But what he said was, I'm concerned about my friend Alaa. I think that she's leading him astray. That was his input to this. And yes, I would say that he did kind of cause this situation when he came online and was like, get me 1,000 subscribers, I'll spill the tea. It was a stupid thing to do. But nothing like what she brought out into her video. And if that went to any kind of lawyer or any kind of court, they would strike her down so quickly. Like, there was no excuse for how she responded to this. There's a bit of discussion about people calling the Canadian authorities. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people? Apparently FFG and, is her name Kaya? Have called the Canadian immigration people, like, man, use your time better, please. But she says, I never said he was coming to Canada, but what reason would you give them to not let me in? Because you don't like him? And she's laughing about it. And I'm like, there's no reason for anyone to call. You don't need a good reason to try and stop him coming into Canada, because she can't sponsor him with her finances being a wreck the way they are. Like, don't worry about it. Put the phone down. You don't need to. You know, like, she spoiled this for herself. And out of Foodie's own mouth, she said, and I thought it was a little ambitious, but we'll see. She said it would probably take me a couple of years to get my shit together. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, it would make a start. We'd see. It depends how deep a pile of shit she's in. But don't worry about it. There's no way he's coming to Canada. But that goes back to what I'm saying about he quit his job 3 days later, if what this guy is saying is true. And he had obvious beliefs that things were going to be different than they were, that he was going to go to Canada probably quicker than he currently seems to be, and all of that conversation. She does make a hilarious point with absolutely no self-reflection where she says, people dig their own graves if you give them a shovel. And I'm just sitting here, well, let's see, shall we? Around the 45-30 mark in terms of timing, she's like, we are husband and wife, soulmates, my family love him, his sisters love me. His dad is more traditional, so he takes more time to get used to it. I've just given you the timestamp there because it's going to age like milk. She then goes back to Nada because she's trying to deflect. I spent Christmas with Nada because my family didn't want him there. I mean, not surprising. Grandma had just passed. I don't imagine they wanted to see his big dumb face or any of the stuff that came with his presence in her life while dealing with immediate grief. She said she addresses Grandma's blanket. She said, I didn't give him Grandma's blanket. I bought Grandma's blanket there because I missed her. And I'm pretty sure she left it there, though, when she went away. I'm not saying she gave it to him, but it's not like she treated it like a prized possession. She left it there because I remember we were on live with Pulpy for a while after that, and we were doing Blanket Watch. And we didn't know what had happened to it. And then she asked, why are people constantly dissing my husband? Because he's sus. I'm sorry, this whole situation is kind of sus. And the reason people are so willing to listen to tea from these side characters is because anybody could look at this and say something doesn't add up here. Something doesn't add up with how fast it happened, with how stilted the conversation is, with how hard it is to see any kind of emotional connection between them, with the fact that they claim to be married when they really didn't have time to go through that process. Like, it's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of things there that are questionable, and that's why people question it. She did stay online for a little bit longer after this, but mostly repeating older points, so I just kind of left it there. And as I mentioned, the guy came back the next morning on the way to work. He was like, she said some very bad things about my wife, spoke bad about my wife. We will take action. I will go live with my wife. He said about 10:30-ish his time, that he doesn't blame Salah. He's friends with Salah. He believes that she's leading him astray. He doesn't need money. That why was she so unpleasant to his wife? Which I asked the same question. The wife cooked and cleaned and like spoke to her. That's all. The wife hasn't done anything except be hospitable to her, and that maybe they'll go live together later. And then he kind of stopped himself because he was like, oh, I'll talk to you later, because he was on the way to work. Now, I don't know if that's actually going to happen, because he did delete that. I don't know if that means he doesn't want to, or if that means maybe they're pursuing other avenues of action and so he doesn't want it up. I don't know. And no one does yet, unless something's come up while I've been filming this. So that's what's going on. As ever, Foodie isn't out of line for being angry about this person. Maybe they weren't close friends, but this person within their real life deciding to go online for clout. It's okay for Foodie to be angry about that. But as ever, she can't control herself and she has no sense of proportion. So everything she was talking about in that live, God, it was out of order. You don't go after someone's family. You don't make these kind of accusations, and you certainly don't make them in the Middle East. So, I don't know. She just lost all sense of reality to me. She's got no differentiation between online and offline and the consequences of each. And I wish she would have consequences. I hope his wife pursues consequences, just because she needs to understand that they're real, and that she doesn't just get to use the delete button and say, well, I deleted it so it doesn't count. I deleted it so there's no problem. You called the woman a whore and you put her picture and name online. It's not okay. So anyway, I'm going to leave you there. I hope you've had a good day. It was a lot to go through, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.